Hi everyone, today I want to talk about something very practical for students and researchers. How to read a paper with the least amount of energy and the least amount of time and still get the maximum benefit and productivity out of it. There are two situations. You're already familiar with the field or you're entering the field for the first time. Now I'm gonna assume you're completely new and know nothing about the area, and I'll explain with that perspective. Of course, everything I say here also applies to people who are already somewhat experienced in the field. First of all, the question is, where should we search? What search engine should we use? My first and last answer is use Google Scholar. A lot of people use the search engines of different publishers and indexing databases, like Scopus, Skim, and so on. These are some of the most famous ones. Many people also use ProQuest, but honestly, I find this approach pretty funny. When you have Google Scholar, which has the widest coverage, includes results from all publishers worldwide, and even gives you access to many theses and conference papers, why would you limit yourself? Let's say I want to search in a field where I have zero prior knowledge. I want to see how someone who knows nothing can start studying. So I search something like neural tissue engineering. A bunch of papers will show up. I usually filter for the last few years so that the results are most recent. Now for someone like me who's totally new to nerve tissue engineering, which paper is better to read first? First of all, the paper you read should be a review article. Always make sure the first paper you read is a good review. From the titles, I can often guess which ones are reviews. The reason is that a review article teaches you like a book, like a textbook. When you read a research article, you're faced with a huge amount of very specialized terminology and very specific methods that might be unique to that particular author and that no one else has used. For a beginner, that's not ideal, but starting with a comprehensive review paper is much better. So I open a few papers to see which ones are open access, and I'll choose one of those to walk you through. Look, at any point in a paper you might realize this paper is not useful for me. With the structure I'm going to, you'll very quickly figure out whether the paper is suitable for you or not. And you won't waste hours reading it top to bottom, only to discover too late that it wasn't helpful. The moment you see it's not worth it, skip it. Naturally, you should first fully digest the title. Even in the title you might encounter a technical term. Whenever you run into a technical term, search it right there and add the word meaning after it and read about it. Maybe go to its Wikipedia page. Maybe open a few sites about it. Images. Reading is like that. You shouldn't rely only on that one paper. You should rely on the path that reading that paper sends you down. After that, you read the abstract. Read the abstract enough times until you fully understand what is going on. There might be some abbreviations in the abstract. You can find their full forms by searching within the paper itself. Some people prefer to read from the PDF version of the paper. Some prefer the web version. I personally like the web version because search inside it is easier for me. After the abstract, we move on to the introduction. Up to this point, we follow the paper's order. If the field is new to you, you should read the introduction completely, from the start to finish. If it's a familiar field and you already have some expertise, just reading the last paragraph of the introduction is enough. The rest will be repetitive for you. The last paragraph of the introduction is like what you will see section. It tells you what this paper is going to explain to you, like a book's preface. After that, you go and read the titles of all the sections. What I'm saying applies to both review articles and original research papers, no difference. In original research papers, you go through the section titles, materials and methods, the tests they performed, and if the results are subdivided into titles subsections, you read those titles too. In review papers, it's the same idea. This way, you understand the overall structure and flow of the paper. The next step is to go through all the figures one by one, together with their captions. If somewhere in the text that figure is mentioned, which usually is, you read that paragraph or that part of the text as well, so your understanding is more complete. The goal here is that by studying the figures, you gain a general picture of the topic. Then you glance at the tables with their captions and the sections where they're mentioned. There's no need to memorize them or dive into all the details. Just look at them and try to grasp the key points. You're trying to get a sense of what the paper is saying and what its main message is. And the final step is to read the conclusion. Read the conclusion in full to understand the take-home messages. Once you've done all this, you'll have mastered at least 70% of what the paper is trying to say, and the paper is basically in your pocket. You've achieved maximum efficiency in minimum time. Instead of constantly reading line by line from top to bottom, you can quickly find out whether this paper is actually useful for you or not. It's really that simple. Now, it's possible that after reading these parts, you'll want to read more of the paper. At that point, you can go back and read the sections you're most interested in. But at least for me personally, it has almost never happened that I wanted to read the paper fully from start to finish. I just don't need to. I get that important 70% in the shortest possible time using this method. And if I'm genuinely interested, I go deeper into specific sections. Also, I recommend that you never get stuck in one place and waste time too much. For example, maybe understanding the abstract is really hard for you. It's fine to read it several times, but if there are still parts you don't get stuck there. Move on. Maybe this time the introduction will be much smoother for you, which is usually the case. So don't worry. If there's something in the abstract you didn't understand, and if it's important, it will almost certainly be mentioned in the conclusion. There's basically nothing important in a paper that the author emphasizes but then completely ignores in the conclusion, in most cases. The main findings are in the conclusion. So with this method, about 10 to 15 minutes of your time will be enough for reading a paper, and then you'll know whether that paper is worth using as a reference or for conference presentation, a class presentation, reading in full, or any other purpose. I'd also definitely recommend having a caffeinated drink before you start reading. Thank you.